Meet Dakota, a dedicated lawyer and loving mother whose world is shaken by betrayal. Follow her journey as she overcomes adversity, discovering resilience and empowerment while rebuilding a life filled with hope and love for her family. Every morning, Dakota's alarm rang before dawn, ushering in another busy day. She moved quietly through the house, expertly juggling the tasks of making breakfast and preparing Jack and Lily for school. The aroma of fresh coffee filled the kitchen, providing a brief respite as she mentally organized her day. Her husband, Mike, was away again, his side of the bed empty after another business trip. His absence, once an accepted norm, had started feeling more like an emotional chasm. As she navigated her morning routine, Dakota appeared calm and composed. Her career as a lawyer was thriving, fueled by her intelligence and determination, qualities that earned her admiration at the law firm. But this professional success came at a personal cost, leaving her feeling exhausted and overextended. The endless cycle of work and home responsibilities was daunting, even as she wore a brave face for those around her. Dakota often found herself putting everyone else's needs before her own, sacrificing her happiness for the sake of her family and career. The drive to the office was her only moment of solitude, a brief period where she could reflect on her life. Thoughts of Mike and his growing distance filled her mind. "Why do I feel like I'm doing this alone?" she wondered, the question lingering as she parked her car. Despite these feelings, she pushed them aside, focusing instead on the demands waiting for her at the law firm. The office was bustling with activity, a stark contrast to the emotional turbulence she kept hidden. Later that evening, over dinner with her friend Abella, Dakota voiced her concerns. "Sometimes, it feels like everything depends on me, but who's there to support me?" she admitted, her frustration evident. Abella listened intently, offering a knowing smile. "Dakota, don't forget that true love is about mutual support, not one-sided sacrifices," she replied gently. This conversation stayed with Dakota, a poignant reminder that she needed to value herself and seek a balance in her relationships. The words resonated deeply, urging her to reassess the dynamics of her life and prioritize her well-being. One evening, as Dakota was tidying up the living room, she accidentally knocked over Mike's jacket, which was draped carelessly over the back of a chair. A small piece of paper fluttered to the ground, a crumpled hotel receipt dated on a night he had claimed to be away on a business trip. Her heart raced as she picked it up, feeling a mix of disbelief and anxiety. She reread the details several times, hoping there was some mistake. But deep down, Dakota knew what she had discovered. It was a moment that changed everything, turning her world upside down. Feeling a mix of dread and determination, Dakota decided she needed to uncover the truth. The next morning, while Mike was in the shower, she took a deep breath and began discreetly going through his belongings. She discovered several texts from a woman named Laura, each one feeling like a stab to her heart. The messages were affectionate and intimate, leaving little doubt about their relationship. With each new piece of evidence, her heart sank further, confirming her fears. Dakota realized she needed to face this betrayal head-on, despite the pain it caused her. The confirmation of Mike's infidelity was both devastating and infuriating. Dakota's mind whirled with questions. How long had this been going on? What did this mean for their marriage? She felt a sense of betrayal that went beyond anger. It was a profound sense of being lied to and deceived by the person she trusted most. Dakota struggled to maintain her composure, not wanting to alarm Jack and Lily. Her children were her priority, and the thought of how this revelation might impact them kept her up at night, wrestling with the implications of her discovery. Determined to make the best decision for her family, Dakota knew she needed more than just emotional certainty. She considered hiring a private investigator to confirm what she had found and to gather further evidence. The thought of taking such a step was daunting, but Dakota knew she needed to protect herself and her children. Her mind flashed to memories of her and Mike, moments filled with love and laughter that now felt tainted. The conflict inside her was immense. She yearned for the comfort of their past, but the betrayal was too great to ignore. Dakota confided in her friend Abella, hoping for guidance. "I think Mike is having an affair," Dakota said, her voice breaking with emotion. Abella's eyes widened in shock, then softened with understanding. "Dakota, You have to think about what's best for you and the kids, Abella advised gently. Her friend's words reinforced what Dakota already knew, that she couldn't ignore the truth. It was time to face the situation with courage and clarity, to find a path forward that protected her and her children's future. This betrayal, painful as it was, marked the beginning of Dakota's journey to reclaim control over her life. Dakota found herself on an emotional roller coaster as she grappled with her discovery. The initial shock of Mike's betrayal morphed into a tumultuous blend of anger and heartbreak. She was torn between confronting Mike immediately and the instinct to shield her children from the fallout. The idea of a confrontation filled her with dread, knowing it would shatter the fragile stability of their family. At the same time, ignoring the truth felt impossible, a lie she couldn't live with. The stakes were high, and Dakota felt the weight of every decision. Late at night, as the house lay silent, Dakota wrestled with her thoughts. Images of Mike and Laura haunted her, but her children's faces grounded her. She couldn't ignore the impact this would have on Jack and Lily, whose innocence she was desperate to protect. Dakota considered every option, from counseling to separation, but each choice seemed to come with its own set of challenges. Her mind was a whirlpool of questions, each one pulling her deeper into uncertainty. What will this mean for our family? She asked herself, the answer eluding her. In the midst of her turmoil, Dakota sought advice from Abella, hoping her friend's perspective could help her navigate these uncharted waters. You have to think about what's best for you and the kids, Abella urged during one of their heart-to-heart conversations. Abella's words resonated with Dakota, providing a moment of clarity amid the chaos. She realized that her instincts were to protect her children and herself. It was a defining moment, one that pushed her towards action. Dakota knew she had to face the truth head-on, gathering strength from within to make the tough decisions ahead. Determined to confront the reality of Mike's betrayal, Dakota knew she needed solid evidence to move forward. The hotel receipt and suspicious messages were not enough. She wanted undeniable proof to protect herself and her children. After a restless night, she decided to hire a private investigator renowned for his discretion and thoroughness. The decision felt empowering, giving her a sense of control over the chaos. I need to know exactly what I'm dealing with, she explained to the investigator, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. Over the next few weeks, the investigator diligently followed Mike, providing updates that were both relieving and anxiety-inducing. Dakota tried to maintain her composure at work, though the weight of the secret she carried was immense. Each report from the investigator brought her closer to the truth she dreaded yet needed. The final report included photos and transcripts that confirmed her worst fears. Mike was indeed having an affair with Laura. With this irrefutable evidence in hand, Dakota felt both devastated and resolute. The confrontation with Mike loomed ahead, and Dakota prepared herself for the difficult conversation. She rehearsed what she would say, anticipating his reactions and readying herself for the emotional battle. On the chosen day, as Mike returned from work, she asked him to sit down, her heart pounding with anticipation. "Mike, we need to talk," she began, her voice calm but firm. She handed him the folder, watching his expression shift from confusion to shock as he absorbed the evidence of his betrayal. Mike's initial reaction was denial, a reflexive attempt to deflect responsibility. "Dakota, it's not what it looks like," he protested, trying to mask his apprehension with excuses. But the photos and messages spoke volumes, leaving little room for misinterpretation. "I was going to end it," he insisted weakly, sensing that his words carried little weight against the truth. Dakota remained composed, her eyes steady as she confronted him. "You lied to me and to our family," she said, each word laced with the gravity of his actions. Dakota's voice was steady and clear as she continued. "I deserve better than this, and so do Jack and Lily." Mike tried to appeal to her sense of family, pleading for another chance. "We can work through this, for the kids," he suggested, desperation creeping into his tone. But Dakota shook her head, her decision resolute. "There's no going back from this, Mike," she replied. She had spent too long sacrificing her happiness for the sake of their marriage, and now it was time to prioritize herself and her children. The confrontation, though painful, marked the beginning of her journey toward a brighter future. Amidst the chaos of her personal life, Dakota was assigned a high-profile case at work involving a client falsely accused of fraud. The complexity and stakes of the case demanded her full attention, providing a welcome distraction from the turmoil at home. As she delved into the intricate details, Dakota found herself invigorated by the challenge, reminded of the passion and purpose that drove her career. This case was more than just work. It was an opportunity to wield her legal skills in pursuit of justice, a cause that had always been close to her heart. It was a refreshing change, allowing her to focus her energy on something she could control and influence. Working closely with Tom, a colleague known for his sharp mind and empathetic nature, Dakota found unexpected support. From the start, Tom sensed the tension beneath her professional exterior and offered his help. "I know things can get overwhelming," he said, his voice filled with understanding. "If you need to talk or need any help, I'm here." Their collaboration quickly turned into a partnership, with Tom's insights and strategies complementing Dakota's own approaches. As they worked late into the nights, their conversations often drifted from work to more personal topics, and Tom's stories of his own challenges helped Dakota feel less alone. The camaraderie with Tom became a source of strength for Dakota, providing a sense of connection and support she desperately needed. His encouragement and belief in her abilities bolstered her confidence as she prepared for the trial. "You're stronger than you realize, Dakota," Tom reminded her during one of their late-night strategy sessions, offering words that resonated deeply. As the trial approached, Dakota felt a renewed sense of clarity and purpose. She realized that, despite the upheaval in her personal life, she was capable of achieving great things. The case became a symbol of her resilience, reminding her of her passion for justice and her ability to overcome adversity, both in the courtroom and beyond. As Dakota gathered evidence against Mike and pursued justice for her client, she began to find strength in unexpected places. Her children, Jack and Lily, provided her with joy and motivation. Their laughter and innocence were a constant reminder of what truly mattered. Dakota made a conscious effort to spend more quality time with them, whether it was a simple trip to the park or a movie night at home. These moments of connection with her kids were a balm for her weary soul, offering glimpses of happiness amidst the storm. At the law firm, Dakota's colleagues noticed a new spark in her demeanor. Her work on the fraud case was nothing short of exemplary, drawing praise from both her peers and supervisors. She had rediscovered her passion for the law, fueled by the knowledge that she was making a difference. Her sharp legal mind and determination earned her respect and admiration. "You're doing an incredible job, Dakota," Tom told her one day, a proud smile on his face. His words boosted her confidence, encouraging her to continue fighting both in her personal and professional life. As the trial date approached, Dakota and Tom spent more time together, developing a strong friendship that provided both with much-needed support. Their dynamic partnership in the courtroom was a force to be reckoned with. They shared late nights at the office, discussing strategies and bouncing ideas off each other. Their conversations often drifted into personal territory, offering Dakota a safe space to express her frustrations and fears. Tom became a steady presence in her life, a friend who listened without judgment and offered wisdom when needed. In her personal life, Dakota slowly started exploring what it meant to move forward. She began to accept invitations from friends for dinner or coffee, allowing herself small moments of joy and normalcy. Abella, in particular, was a constant source of support and encouragement. "You deserve to find happiness, Dakota," Abella reminded her during one of their many heart-to-heart talks. The words resonated deeply, encouraging Dakota to pursue a future where she prioritized her own well-being and fulfillment. She was beginning to envision a life beyond the pain of betrayal. Through it all, Dakota was reminded of her resilience and inner strength. She was learning to navigate a new reality, one where she balanced her responsibilities with the pursuit of her own happiness. Her journey was far from over, but she was no longer afraid of the challenges ahead. With each passing day, Dakota found herself embracing the unknown with courage and hope. The support of her children, friends, and colleagues provided a strong foundation, allowing her to rebuild her life on her own terms. Dakota was ready to face whatever came next, determined to create a brighter future for herself and her family. The turning point came unexpectedly when Dakota discovered that Mike had not only been unfaithful but had also embezzled funds from his company to finance his lifestyle with Laura. This revelation was a shock, a devastating blow that temporarily knocked the wind out of her. It was a moment that forced Dakota to reevaluate everything she thought she knew about her husband. Yet, instead of breaking her, this new information ignited a fierce determination within her. It was no longer just about personal betrayal. It was about ensuring justice was served and protecting her children from the fallout. Armed with the new evidence, Dakota doubled down on her efforts. She worked tirelessly with the private investigator to gather more documentation, determined to expose the full extent of Mike's deceit. The discovery of his financial misconduct gave her a renewed sense of purpose. It was a reminder that she was fighting not just for herself, but for her children's future and stability. "This changes everything," she confided to Tom, who had become her confidant and ally. "I can't let him get away with this." In the midst of this personal upheaval, Dakota's work on the fraud case became even more significant. The parallels between her client's struggle and her own fight for justice were striking. Both required perseverance and a belief in the truth. Dakota's dedication to her client's case intensified as she realized that her legal battles mirrored her personal ones. Her success in the courtroom became a beacon of hope, proving that justice could prevail. The satisfaction she derived from her work bolstered her confidence, reaffirming her resolve to see her personal fight through to the end. As the trial date for the fraud case neared, Dakota found herself reflecting on the journey so far. She had come a long way, from the initial shock of discovering Mike's affair to gathering evidence of his financial wrongdoing. Through it all, her children remained her anchor, their well-being at the forefront of her mind. She was determined to shield them from the chaos and ensure they had a secure future. "I won't let him take anything more from us," Dakota vowed, her eyes steely with resolve. This new understanding of Mike's actions marked a turning point in Dakota's journey. It was a low moment, a realization that the man she had once loved had betrayed her in more ways than one. But it was also a catalyst for change, propelling her forward with renewed vigor. She was ready to confront the challenges ahead, armed with the truth and supported by those who believed in her. Dakota was no longer the woman she had been when this all started. She was stronger, wiser, and ready to fight for a future defined by honesty and integrity. As the court date for the divorce approached, Mike made a surprising move, attempting to manipulate Dakota emotionally. He pleaded for forgiveness, suggesting that they could overcome this situation together for the sake of their children. "We can make this work, Dakota," he insisted during a tense phone call, his voice laced with desperation. Despite his words, Dakota sensed ulterior motives in his appeal, a desire to avoid the scandal and legal consequences of his actions. Mike soon revealed his supposed trump card, an old agreement they had signed years ago. He claimed it gave him significant financial leverage and could influence the custody decision regarding Jack and Lily. The document, which Dakota had signed early in their marriage, was vague but potentially problematic. Mike's confidence in this agreement unnerved Dakota, making her question whether he could actually succeed in using it against her. She felt the pressure mounting, aware that Mike would do anything to protect his interests. Recognizing the seriousness of the situation, Dakota consulted with Tom, who had become both a trusted colleague and a close friend. Together, they pored over the document, analyzing every clause and implication. "He's trying to scare you into submission," Tom noted, his voice calm yet firm. His presence reassured Dakota, helping her see through Mike's manipulative tactics. With Tom's legal expertise and support, Dakota began to devise a strategy to counter Mike's attempts to use the agreement as a weapon. Dakota also reached out to Abella, seeking emotional support and perspective. During a coffee meeting, Abella listened intently as Dakota shared her concerns. "He's just trying to cover his tracks," Abella said, her expression fierce with loyalty. "You've got this, Dakota. You've come too far to back down now." Her friend's encouragement bolstered Dakota's confidence, reminding her of her strength and determination to protect her family from further harm. As the court date loomed closer, Dakota prepared herself for the battle ahead. She knew that Mike's manipulations were a last-ditch effort to maintain control and avoid accountability. Armed with evidence of his infidelity and financial misconduct, As well as the unwavering support of her friends and legal allies, Dakota felt ready to face him in court. She understood that this was a critical moment, one that required courage and conviction. It was time to show Mike that she would not be intimidated or manipulated, and that she was prepared to fight for justice and the future of her children. On the morning of the trial, Dakota awoke with a knot in her stomach, a mixture of anxiety and determination coursing through her. The stakes were higher than ever, and the weight of the impending court battle pressed heavily on her mind. She dressed carefully, choosing an outfit that made her feel confident and composed. As she looked in the mirror, she reminded herself of the journey she had undertaken to reach this point. "You've got this," she whispered, trying to calm her nerves. As she arrived at the courthouse, the reality of the situation hit her with full force. She feared for the well-being of her children and worried about the possibility of Mike emerging victorious, given his power and connections. Her mind raced with worst-case scenarios, each more daunting than the last. Yet, she steeled herself, knowing she had prepared thoroughly and had the truth on her side. Tom's reassuring presence beside her was a comfort, his quiet confidence lending her strength. "Remember, you're not alone in this," he said, giving her hand a reassuring squeeze. Inside the courtroom, the atmosphere was tense, the stakes palpable. Mike exuded confidence, clearly relying on his supposed trump card to turn the tide in his favor. Dakota watched as he presented the old agreement, outlining his claims with smug assurance. The pressure was immense, the odds seemingly stacked against her. Doubt crept in, threatening to undermine her resolve. But she drew strength from the support of her friends and the knowledge that she was fighting for her children's future. As Mike's lawyer laid out their case, Dakota felt a moment of panic, questioning whether she had made the right decisions along the way. The thought of losing everything she had fought for was terrifying, and the courtroom's scrutiny only intensified her fears. She glanced at Tom, who nodded encouragingly, a silent reminder of the preparations they had made. Despite the uncertainty swirling around her, Dakota knew she had to stay focused, to trust in the evidence she had gathered and the truth she was fighting to reveal. In the midst of the proceedings, Dakota's emotions threatened to overwhelm her. The weight of the moment pressed down on her, a culmination of months of struggle and heartache. Yet, in the darkest part of her soul, she found a flicker of determination, a reminder of why she was there. She thought of Jack and Lily, their faces shining with hope and innocence. That thought became her anchor, grounding her as she prepared to make her stand. It was time to show everyone, including herself, that she was stronger than the circumstances trying to defeat her. As the trial continued, Dakota found herself reflecting deeply on the journey that had brought her here. During a brief recess, she sat alone, thinking about the initial shock of discovering Mike's betrayal and the emotional roller coaster that had followed. Despite the fear and uncertainty clouding her thoughts, she realized this moment also represented an opportunity for growth and transformation. Dakota was determined not to let fear dictate her actions. This was a culmination of months of preparation, resilience, and determination, and she reminded herself that she had the strength to see it through. In the quiet moments before the proceedings resumed, Dakota revisited Abella's words. "True love is about mutual support, not one-sided sacrifices." Those words echoed in her mind, reminding her of her worth and the kind of relationship she deserved. This realization empowered her to move forward with clarity and conviction. Meanwhile, Tom had discovered a crucial detail in the old agreement Mike intended to use against her. A previously overlooked clause contradicted Mike's claims, offering a way to counter his manipulation. Tom shared this discovery with Dakota, filling her with renewed hope and confidence. With this new information in hand, Dakota returned to the courtroom, feeling more determined than ever. The support from her friends and colleagues bolstered her spirits, reminding her she was not alone in this fight. As she stood before the court, her voice was steady and clear as she presented the evidence that dismantled Mike's arguments. Her narrative was powerful and resonant, leaving a lasting impression on the judge and jury. This was her moment of truth, a testament to her resilience and courage. Dakota knew that whatever the outcome, she had given her all and was ready to face the future with newfound strength and determination. Dakota stood in the courtroom, her heart pounding with a mix of nerves and determination. With the newly discovered claws in hand, she was ready to face Mike and his manipulative tactics head-on. As she began to present her case, she methodically dismantled his arguments, exposing the inconsistencies in his claims. Her voice was steady, her resolve unwavering, as she revealed the truth behind the old agreement Mike had hoped to use against her. This was her moment to shine, and she seized it with all the strength she could muster. The courtroom was silent as Dakota presented her evidence of Mike's infidelity and financial misconduct. The photos, messages, and financial documents painted a damning picture of deceit and betrayal. Dakota spoke with clarity and conviction, emphasizing the impact of Mike's actions on their family and their children's future. Her presentation was powerful and compelling, leaving little room for doubt about the reality of the situation. As she concluded, Dakota felt a sense of relief wash over her, knowing she had done everything possible to protect her children and herself. As the trial progressed, Mike's confidence visibly waned. The evidence against him was overwhelming, and his attempts to manipulate the narrative were quickly unraveling. Dakota watched as he struggled to maintain his composure, realizing that his actions were finally catching up with him. The judge and jury were clearly swayed by the strength of Dakota's case, recognizing the truth in her words and the evidence she had presented. It was a turning point, a moment where justice seemed within reach, and Dakota's determination was finally paying off. With Tom's support and guidance, Dakota had successfully countered Mike's manipulations, turning the tide in her favor. She had proven her resilience and ability to navigate the complexities of both her personal and professional life. As the trial neared its conclusion, Dakota felt a growing sense of empowerment. She had faced her fears, stood up to Mike's attempts to undermine her, and emerged stronger for it. This victory, hard won as it was, marked a new beginning for her and her children. The trial's conclusion brought a sense of closure to a tumultuous chapter in Dakota's life. As the judge prepared to deliver the verdict, Dakota reflected on the journey that had brought her here. She had fought tirelessly for her family, uncovering the strength and courage she never knew she had. No matter the outcome, Dakota knew she had done everything possible to protect her children and herself. She was ready to embrace the future, confident in her ability to create a life defined by honesty, integrity, and the unwavering love she shared with her children. In the final moments of the trial, the courtroom was tense as everyone awaited the judge's decision. Dakota sat with Tom by her side, her heart pounding with anticipation. The judge's voice echoed through the room as he delivered the verdict. Dakota was granted full custody of Jack and Lily, and Mike was held accountable for his financial misconduct. The relief that washed over Dakota was overwhelming. Tears welled up in her eyes as she realized that her fight for justice had paid off, and she had secured a future for her children free from Mike's deceit and manipulation. Mike sat in stunned silence, his confidence shattered by the judge's ruling. Dakota watched him, feeling a mix of emotions, relief, vindication, and a lingering sadness for what had been lost. But above all, she felt empowered, having stood her ground and emerged victorious. Her determination and resilience had carried her through, and she knew she had done right by her children. Dakota's heart swelled with gratitude for the support she had received from Tom, Abella, and her colleagues, who had stood by her through every challenge. As the courtroom emptied, Dakota gathered her belongings and stepped outside, taking a deep breath of the crisp, fresh air. The weight that had burdened her for so long began to lift, replaced by a sense of hope and possibility. Tom stood beside her, his eyes filled with pride and admiration. "You did it, Dakota," he said, his voice warm and reassuring. "You fought for what was right, and you won." Dakota smiled, feeling a deep sense of gratitude for Tom's unwavering support and friendship. In the days that followed, Dakota began to rebuild her life with Jack and Lily. They moved into a new house, a fresh start that symbolized their new beginning. The house was filled with laughter and warmth, a testament to the strength and love that had carried them through the darkest times. Dakota found joy in the simple moments, reading stories with her children, enjoying meals together, and exploring their new neighborhood. She was determined to create a life where they could thrive, surrounded by love and honesty. As Dakota sat in the backyard, Watching Jack and Lily play, she reflected on the journey that had brought her here. She had faced immense challenges and emerged stronger, discovering a resilience she never knew she had. The betrayal and pain she had endured had taught her valuable lessons about love, trust, and the importance of standing up for herself. Dakota smiled as she watched her children, knowing that she had created a safe and loving home for them. She was ready to embrace the future with confidence, knowing that she was surrounded by genuine love and support.